Hi, I'm Erin Power.
And I'm Laura Rupsis.
We're certified health coaches, and this is Health Coach Radio.
This podcast is about the art, science, and business of health coaching.
We share our insider tips to help you become a better coach and entrepreneur.
And we interview expert guests to discover how they've made it in this growing field.
It's time for health coaches to make an impact.
It's time for Health Coach Radio.
Our guest today actually made talking about money feel fun and safe. Ean Price Murphy is a profit-first money coach who helps her clients speak the language of money. Profit First is a simple cash management system that gives every dollar a home. It involves opening several bank accounts and squirreling away certain percentages of your earnings into specific accounts. The most important bit, though, is that you pay yourself first. Ean says that this system really works for those who hate dealing with numbers and who shy away from money stuff. Anyone else, or is it just me? Let me quickly tell you about something we've recently created that we're pretty pumped about. My Primal Coach is a convenient app-based health coaching program that delivers daily lessons with actionable tips for losing weight, gaining strength and energy, sleeping better, managing stress, and more. It also provides personal one-on-one coaching to help you stay on track and reach your wellness goals in just 12 weeks. It is developed and delivered by the team behind Primal Health Coach Institute, the first and preeminent ancestral health coaching school in existence. We are experts in behavior change, and we understand how to get clients the results they desire. Our mission at My Primal Coach is the same as our mission with Primal Health Coach Institute, to help 100 million people reclaim health and wellness through education and coaching. Check it out for yourself at myprimalcoach.com. We love to see who's listening to us, so please take a screen grab of your podcast player and tag us on Instagram at Health Coach Radio. And don't forget, the show notes for this episode and every other previous episode of our show can be found at primalhealthcoach.com/radio. I know you're going to get so much out of this conversation, and you'll enjoy Ian's energy and easy way of talking about money stuff. So, please welcome our guest from Moxie Bookkeeping, Ean Price Murphy.
Ean Price Murphy, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Awesome. So we're excited to talk to you, mostly because Erin and I know that anytime we talk to somebody who's an expert in the things that we don't really like, we always learn something new, and a little bit of that, that's not my wheelhouse, I feel uncomfortable-ness kind of goes away a little bit, and we become more and more competent in these areas. And finance is one of those areas. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Would you mind telling our audience a little bit about you? Give us the little 3 to 5 minute backstory on who Ean is and why you're here.
I'll see if I can keep it to 3, because it's a little bit longer than that when it's actually what I want to say. Because what I always love to start with is, yes, I'm a financial professional. Yes, I've been doing this for decades. Yes, I've grown a successful business. We have 15 employees, blah, blah, blah. But this is not where I started.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever I'm talking to people, and I very much resonate with this is not my wheelhouse, because I feel about words the way most people feel about numbers. I just don't want to. I started with a liberal arts degree. My father's a jazz musician. I did some theater for a while. And in my mid-20s, I had a personal bankruptcy because I did not understand what financial literacy was. And so the reason I always like to start there is I'm never going to allow shame to come into this conversation, and to remind all of us that this is a learned skill. This is not an innate ability. Now, again, it may not be a skill you want to learn. Obviously, I can speak. I just prefer to work quietly with numbers. But being able to sort of forgive ourselves and give ourselves some grace and some room, and let go of the BS of, grind culture of I should be good at all of the things all of the time. And if not, it's a personal moral failure.
Yeah.
Nope. We're not doing that today. So that's me. I came from my family was a very sort of normie middle class. We didn't talk about money. we had enough, but we didn't talk about, what months were tight and what months weren't. And so when I struck out on my own, I was left with some very normie advice that didn't really serve me, and I think doesn't really serve anyone. Work hard and you'll succeed. Well,
wow. So that was
maybe.
a big, I think we missed a lot there. So how do you go from a liberal arts degree to starting your own financial practice?
Bankruptcy. Short answer. I did it so you don't have to. You're welcome. So I graduated from a liberal arts school, pursued, and so what I was doing was I was working all the time, right? I was going to auditions and doing stage at night, but I knew that wasn't going to pay the bills. So during the day I was, temping and bartending and waitressing and all of the things that we all have done in our early 20s to get by. And one of the gigs that I got was as an office manager for this. She actually hired me to be her receptionist to help her just answer the telephone. She did custom high-end tile work, really beautiful stuff. And I was like, you don't have a computer, you don't have a filing system, you don't have this, you don't have this. And so I sort of learned to be an office manager under her umbrella. And she thankfully had a very warm and patient CPA accountant who guided my learning in bookkeeping. This is what you do. This is how you do it. This is what you don't do. This is why you don't do it. And so I realized that I had this real proficiency for it. And that when I looked around, it was something that I knew almost no one who liked doing it or wanted to be any good at it. So that relationship ended when she was paying me $9 an hour to negotiate contracts on her behalf and, find her loans and do credit cards and payroll. And, I was seriously underpaid, but again, no financial literacy. What I thought was work hard and you'll succeed. So, after working with her for a while, I was like, I'd love a raise. I'd love $15 an hour. I think most people that do what I do earn about 25. So already huge issue of me not advocating well for myself by already starting to give it away. And her response was, no, thanks. How about I give you a quarter raise to $9.25?
Wow.
Ouch. So thankfully I was like, that's not going to work. Because I'm going through bankruptcy and I need to have a real job. So we parted on friendly terms, and she was kind enough to open up her relationships with all the people that I had been dealing with, the designers and the artisans and the craftspeople, and said, yeah, you want to go do bookkeeping for them? Go for it. So I became a freelance bookkeeper and did that for a couple of years. And then, organically grew to the point where I needed help. I hired my first employee. She's still with us nearly 20 years later, which I love. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I feel better already.
Good.
Because you relinquished the shame in the sense of this is not an innate ability. It is a learned skill, like absolutely anything, which I think is personally, I always kind of joke on these financial podcasts that I'm head in the sand about it, but it's because this financial literacy it's never been nurtured or taught, but it can be learned by anyone. Just your commentary as well about work hard and it all comes out in the wash. That's such a boomer thing. Oh, our boomer parents have told us to do that. I swear. They meant well. My question for you to start with is a really crazy one, but please indulge me. Can you define bookkeeping?
That is not a crazy question at all. It's actually one of the questions that I get asked a whole lot, not just what is bookkeeping, but what's the difference between bookkeeping and accounting? So the word accounting is like saying the word doctor. Now, I might mean dermatologist, I might mean ear, nose, throat, or I might mean professor of philosophy. We don't even necessarily mean medical doctor, right? So accounting just means money stuff. And bookkeeping is also a really big, broad term. Usually when people say bookkeeping, what they mean is day-to-day management of financial data, getting the numbers in the boxes so that they match to what really happened in the real world, And so that they come out in a way that I can look at sort of summary information and go, okay, that's about what I thought I was going to see, or, ooh, I really should make some changes here, or here. When people say accounting, even me, even when I say accounting, generally what I mean is tax accounting.
Okay.
And I often will shorthand that with CPA, certified public accountant, which is just one of the many kinds of tax accountants. There's also something called an EA, or an enrolled agent. They can do 99% of the same thing a CPA does. They are, enrolled with the IRS as an agent to file your taxes, et cetera. So for me, the distinction when I use those terms with non-financial people, when I say bookkeeping, what I mean is management accounting, making sure the day-to-day stuff is good. Mm-hmm. And when I say accounting, I generally mean tax accounting. But here is the place that I get super nerdy, excited about numbers in a way that very few other people do, which is there's this zone in between those two things. My books are perfect. My reports are coming out. My accountant and my bookkeeper both agree it looks great. My taxes are getting done on time. But I'm kind of left out of the loop here because I still don't know, like, okay, I see the sentence written down on the piece of paper, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with that. I don't know what that means, right? Mm-hmm. Jeff has a green truck. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Am I supposed to do something with that? And that's the way most people approach their financial reports, right? Their profit and loss, their balance sheet. I'm looking at it. I'm like, everybody else is nodding, so I'm nodding too. Like, yeah, that looks fine, guys. And so that little zone, that dead zone, is where I love to play, because that is what do we do with what we see? And so as we talk about learned skill, the two kind of big parallels that I love to draw with learning anything new, but specifically with accounting and bookkeeping, is remember, if it was a while ago, the first time you got behind the wheel of a car learning to drive, the terror that I experienced, you may have experienced as well, of like, I'm driving a giant death machine. And if I flip the wrong lever, it's going to explode and everyone on the road around me is going to die. Right. But how quickly, with a little bit of guidance and somebody else having that access to that brake pedal, 6 months usually, and people are flying down the freeway with the radio cranked, the window down, and we're singing along, and we're like, checking to make sure there's nothing in our eye, or like the movement from terror to comfort happens so quickly for most of us when learning to drive a car. It can be that simple, because one of the things is just the demystifying of it. And so the other parallel that I draw all the time is it's like learning a foreign language. And no one should be asking you to be fluent. No one. You just need to be able to ask, like, how do I order a good meal? How do I find the bathroom? How do I catch my train? And how do I find somewhere to sleep? You do not need to know the pluperfect subjunctive. And if your accountant or bookkeeper is looking at you like, why don't you know this? You have the wrong bookkeeper or accountant. Because again, shame is not cool.
Yeah. Like I came from the finance world as well, but like accounting, like even though I came from the finance world, I wasn't really a numbers girl. I was really more of a concepts girl, trends, like capital markets. Here's, what we see happening. And most of what I did was really more around education and application, which I was able to directly apply to coaching. And by the way, my actual degree was education. That was my degree, right? So all of this stuff has kind of led me here. And what I heard you say was, I'm seeing it written on a piece of paper, but I don't know what to do with that. And so much of that is common with our clients when it comes to health coaching, right? We will make a statement about, insert whatever health topic here, the importance of protein or hydration or what have you. And the client's like, yeah, okay, I get it. At the end of the day, what does that mean for me as far as the next decision I have to make tomorrow, right? We talk all the time about, especially in health, we don't have an information problem. We have an application problem, right? And it sounds to me like you believe the same is true in the numbers world, in the finance world, in bookkeeping.
I actually believe that is true almost universally, with both business and personal. Information, especially these days, is not the problem.
Right.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about that dead zone in between um, accounting and bookkeeping, the way I interpreted it is like, what do I have? Like, okay, this is all working now. This is all where it needs to be. But what do I have? Like, what do I actually have? That's how I interpreted it. Sometimes I feel like, is that kind of what you meant? Like,
Yes, yes, and
okay.
it's like having a car that runs perfectly, right? Your mechanic has said you're ready to go on your road trip, and you sit in the seat and you're like, great, my car's perfect. But where am I going? What's my
Mm-hmm.
destination? What do I want it to be? Do I just want to go to the grocery store and get, some
Yeah.
stuff for the cabinet, or am I like ready to take a long weekend trip? And that's the place where, if I can just continue with the crazy analogy, someone like a tour guide would help, right? Well, let me help you craft the best experience that you have of being in this driver's seat of this car that runs and will get you where you want it to go, to help you figure out where do you want to go. And I
Yeah.
think that's what we as coaches really provide, is that, great, you want to go to the mountains? I can help you with that. Great. You want to go, on a long, epic hike? I can help. I'm not going to come with you. I'm not going to do the hiking, but I can absolutely help make sure that you're prepared for it.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like it. I like analogies. Analogies make it work for me. Um, so I appreciate that this idea of like this comfort can be learned. It doesn't take long. Um, talk to us about like your approach. I kind of curious to know how you work with your clients to get them comfortable.
Yes. I mean, I think a lot of it is just saying this should feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? If there is discomfort, that's okay. If there is fear or pain, that is not okay. If there is shame, that is not okay. That again, having had the privilege of seeing below the hood, if we stick with the car analogy, which apparently I'm stuck on today, I've seen the crazy duct taped, coat hanger wired engines that all these Mercedes are driving around with, right? I know what it looks like in there. And I know that most businesses really do not have it figured out, even the ones with incredibly high numbers. So, we need to let go of this idea of there's a normal or a should or that has to be in relationship to you. And again, I think this translates exactly to wellness, right? There are people out there who will say running is the way to go. Great. I'm sure it is for them. But if you don't feel like your physicality or personality is suited to be a runner, do not be ashamed that that's not the athletic choice that inspires you. Keep looking. There will be something that gets you jazzed about moving, right? And being strong and healthy. Go find it. So back to money. The way that we work with clients is to sort of start with that baseline, because we are a bookkeeping firm. And we'll work with you if you're the bookkeeper, or if you have a VA or an assistant who does the bookkeeping, because what used to be bookkeeping is now essentially data entry. So much of it is automated. So much of it has been facilitated by the leaps forward in technology, that which I love. It means that I don't have to be a data entry person anymore. I can be an advisory person. So whoever is doing the data entry, and oftentimes it really should be someone internal, because if you bought something at Amazon, I have no idea what that was. And why on earth would you pay to tell me and then pay to have me put it in, when you could have just put it in yourself way faster, way easier, and way cheaper? So we start by sort of making sure, are the books good? Do you know how to manage your own data entry? Do you know what the red flags are to look for, so that hey, I need an expert opinion here because the little red light on my dashboard has turned on, or I'm hearing a funny noise, or whatever it is. And then the place that I love living is, okay, now that we have that data to work with, now let's start using the data to help us make day-to-day decisions that don't require us to keep our accountant or bookkeeper on speed dial, right? My ultimate goal is to educate you to the level where you feel empowered to say, I know, by doing what I'm already doing, looking at my bank balance. And if I can separate that money out so that it's separated by purpose, then if I have an opportunity arise, I can just look at that bank account and go, yeah, I've got enough in there. I'm good. Or, ooh, I don't quite have enough in there. What decision do I want to make about that? Do I want to do it anyways? What are the consequences?
Mhm.
So that's the whole system, the cash management system that we do, which is based on a book called Profit First, by a guy named Mike Michalowicz. And there are other iterations and versions of it. My personal favorite is the one for Minority Business Enterprise, written by Suzanne Mariga, because she just comes from a much more of a small business perspective, I think, first in the family to do XYZ. And I think that resonates more with me, and certainly with a lot of the coaches and people that I work with. To just say, again, we're sort of given this standard that we think we need to achieve, and we don't understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, or how to do it. So the process that we use, that's called Profit First, is to work with your natural habits. Again, this probably sounds a lot like health coaching, right?
Yeah.
Work with your natural habits, create an environment that supports your goals, and open multiple bank accounts so that your money is separated by purpose. Now, that sounds like a foolish idea, right? Why would I open 8 different bank accounts? Isn't that hard to reconcile? Isn't that hard to manage? Isn't that, doesn't that add a whole lot of extra work? And my answer is no. It's the difference between a junk drawer and a silverware drawer.
Mm-hmm.
If I need to find my bottle opener, and I know there's 3 in my junk drawer, I'm still going to spend 10 minutes shuffling around, cutting my thumb on something sharp in there, and just being frustrated that I can't put my hand on what I need when I need it. Are there 3 in there? Or were there 3 in there? And now I've already taken them, I took one to a party, one's down by the whatever. Whereas if I open my silverware drawer, I not only can see, yes, forks, knives, spoons, serving spoon, bottle opener, but I can see how many there are. So if I need to set the table for 8 and I open the drawer and there's 4 forks, again, that's making use of that data. That's not just looking, being like, yep, 4 forks. Is that okay? I don't know. It's saying, in relation to knowing that there's 8 people, oh, right, I haven't emptied the dishwasher. Let me go get 4 other forks, or let me hand wash 4 forks, or do whatever I need to do to achieve the goal of setting the table for the appropriate number of people.
Yeah. So coming from the finance world, even though I was more in investments and investment banking, I worked with financial advisors, and Profit First is like a Bible for many of them. So I'm familiar with it, but if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of a deeper description of
Sure.
what Profit First is, I think would be really helpful for people.
Yeah. So again, it is a simple cash management system that gives every dollar a job and every dollar a home, and separates them out into multiple actual different bank accounts labeled by purpose. And so the basic purposes are, you should have an income bank account to collect all of your income separate from everything else, because that's a data point that we often lose. How do I earn? When does it come in? What does that flow look like? You should also have a profit account. This is where the system gets its name, Profit First. That traditionally, the traditional accounting formula, what you will see on your own profit and loss report, is sales minus expenses equals profit, accounting profit, the bottom line. But leftovers are leftovers. And so when you leave that for last, people often say, how am I supposed to XYZ when I have nothing left over? And the shockingly simple answer is, well, put it first. So when you get income in, immediately set aside a percentage, 5, 10, 15%, 20% if you can. It depends on the current health of your business, into a bank account called profit. And then let it sit there and grow. Set aside an amount for the taxes that you will owe. Again, percentage-based amount, so that as your income naturally goes up and down, like waves of the ocean, right? There's the little waves and then the bigger tides. That's how small business is. That you're always prepared, because you always have a responsive percentage-based amount set aside for taxes. Another account is owner's pay, which seems a little goofy, like, well, why wouldn't I just take it home? But it's like the water that you've got at the restaurant. right? You have a glass of water and you drink it down as you're thirsty. And hopefully the waiter comes around often enough to refill it before it's empty. That's what these bank accounts let you do. They give you that crystal clear vision into what is the water level and is it going up or down or staying the same? And what do I need to do about that, if anything? So we use owner's pay as a holding account, like that water glass, so that you can take regular sips and stay hydrated while giving yourself a cushion. So if you do have a slow month, you still have a reserve to pay yourself a sustainable, even salary, which makes your personal finances so much easier, right? Rather than having to be like, oh, this week I'm borrowing for myself. Oh, this week I'm paying myself back from the business. Oh, this week I get a little more. Oh, this week I get a little less. And then finally, the last account that we fund is the operating expenses. And so that is what is left over. And I think it's funny that financial people are, I mean, it's great that financial people are all over this, but the reason that it's a little bit funny to me is because we as financial people are often the people who could get all of this information simply by looking at our reports, because we have that practice and that comfort level of extrapolating the information. So who this system really works for are people who hate the books, don't want to do the bookkeeping, are allergic to numbers, because you can then say, I wake up, I'm feeling a little nervous, right? It's December, whatever. Am I ready for my estimated taxes? I glance at my account and I go, oh, yes, I am. I've got plenty in there. And I roll over and I go right back to sleep. That's pretty cool.
It is.
I have some clarifying questions because I really want to understand this. I mentioned before we recorded that I bought the book and just buying it didn't solve my problems. I might have to actually open it. So the owners
I have
pay.
that with kettlebells.
Oh, yeah.
They just sit there. I don't know.
I bought them. What more do you want? Okay, so the profit bank account is a percentage that you pick. Taxes are a percentage based on, I guess, the going tax rate. The owner's pay, is that typically a flat rate, like $1? Like, is that a percentage as well?
It's all percentage, because again, what we're saying is these bank accounts are little holding tanks, right? So just back to this water glass at the restaurant analogy, maybe I ordered some habanero chili paste on my chicken and I need to drink a lot more right now than I did 5 minutes ago. That's okay if my glass is full. So rather than, because I think that dollar amount, that's where most people feel comfortable is, well, I know that I need $600 a week or whatever the number is. So that's what I'm going to take out of my business, regardless of what my income is.
Right.
And that's where we get into this, like, oh crap, there's not enough there, or, oh crap, I need more than that. And I don't have it this week, or, oh, I've got to borrow back for myself. So by keeping the filling of the tank as a percentage, that lets you say, what is the water level in that tank? And is it holding steady with how much I'm drinking out? Or did I just eat something spicy and I just drained a whole bunch of that water? So now as I refill it, I'm like, ooh, I got to find a way to get more in that tank if I want to be able to take those large gulps again.
Okay. Love it. That's good, because I was confused for a second. I think percentages are a really good way of doing it, obviously. Because if your owner's pay one month is lower than it had been in previous months, that gives you just a real quick glance at what happened in your business that month. You can see, like, I have less money to spend because I didn't make as much, and what kind of business decision can I make moving forward to make this better for me?
Yes. And so here's the thing that that gets me like super overexcited about this. Most people who are able to make the shift to percentage still draw the direct line between the percentage I'm able to pay myself and what goes into my bank account. And so Profit Purse puts this little weigh station in the middle that says, well, let's fill this up so that you can take the same, you can keep that steady salary, because now you can see what are my reserves. And if they are going down, I won't be able to pay myself that steady salary for much longer. So I have time to make those adjustments now before it's an emergency, right? It's like the headlights shining in the dark road. I'm not driving blind and hoping I don't hit a pothole or a cute little deer or there's a sharp turn. I can see that coming so that I can take early evasive action.
So do you mind sharing a little bit about how profit first might, I guess, how do you use it based on the evolution of your business and the maturity of your business? Like, where does the person just starting out, like literally just setting themselves up financially to even start the goofy business, to, okay, now I'm humming along, things are still pretty tight, but we are viable, to things are gangbusters and things are growing and we're at a new stage in our business?
Yep. So I've seen profit first work well to produce favorable results from pre-revenue to up to $10 million. The percentages change depending on the size of your business to be responsive to those things. What's fascinating to me is that it's not industry specific. Yeah. That the big exception, and this is sort of one of the things that is fleshed out much more in the book, which you can also get as an audiobook if you're not a reader, if listening while you're doing other things is better. And that's true for both versions of that book. I just totally sidetracked my own train of thought. Ask me that question
about,
again.
So we were talking about how you've seen this work from pre-revenue really all the way up to 10 million.
Yeah. So the other important thing is that the reason that I fully was on board with this system is the system that I used in my personal life to recover from my bankruptcy, which was fascinating. Like, it was like one of those moments where I was like, I really wish I'd thought of this first. Like, of course you can translate this to business. That in our personal lives, especially if we're entrepreneurs and sort of focused on the business money, we don't really want to pay too much attention to the personal stuff. So we're super habituated to saying, these are my monthly recurring stable expenses. And I need to make sure that those all come out of this one checking account so that I know that my car payment, my mortgage, whatever, my telephone won't bounce. And I need to make sure that there's at least X amount of dollars in there. It's that same system, but for business. So when you are pre-revenue, the money still has to come in from somewhere. So what I would say for people who are just starting out is that is in some ways the best time to start profit first. Because it's easier. You don't have to calculate where am I now? You don't have to sort of do this initial health assessment of how strong and flexible is my business. You can just say, I have the luxury of jumping straight to these ideal percentages. And then the income becomes, how much can I afford to put into my business on a regular basis until my donated income essentially becomes earned income. So if this is a side hustle that you are growing towards being a full-time business, great. You probably already have a pretty good idea of how much free cash you have to put into the business. Let's call it $1,000 a month. So you would still have every single one of those accounts. While you are the one putting in the money, you can do 1% to tax because you likely won't have any tax liability at all. You can do 1% to profit because, again, you already know that that profit is a goal at this point. And you can do 1% to owner's pay. But I want that habit and that structure to be ready so that as the income comes in, it doesn't give you a roadblock of, oh, whoops, now I got to go set up all this other stuff. So you still get in the habit of regularly, twice a month, once a month, saying, this is how much I have in, whether I put it in or not. And now I'm going to slice that pie into these different categories so that I'm building this habit in myself of, I can only spend what's in the operating account.
Yeah. Love it.
Okay.
Step
The
one.
operating account. That was
Expenses.
your business expenses, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
That's
you said
all the stuff.
Yeah. You said that's when you were taking us through the accounts, it was like what's left over is the operating account.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like you want to start with that. Like you have to have a sense of what that is before you can break down your other percentages. Is that?
So if you are an established business, the first thing that we will do, and again, this has so many parallels to the health and fitness industry, is we will do an assessment of where are you now. I would never tell you to deadlift 200 pounds if I didn't know that your body wasn't ready for that. That might be the goal. That might be the, what we really want you to do is to get to this point. But if you're saying I'm coming with a tight shoulder and a bad back and a funky knee, I'm going to be like, great, let's not lift anything. Let's just do these kind of movements so that I can see where is your balance, where is your strength, where is your flexibility, so that I can start you at a place that is appropriate for your current level. Same in business, right? So if you have years of spending habits, we look and we say, what are your current allocation percentages? How much are you currently spending on a estimated percentage base? What percentage of your income are your overhead expenses, your operating expenses? And what I see in most businesses, one of two things: either they're right in line and they're fine, we just need to get more intentional about the money that the owner is taking out, that they're actually taking out the correct amount, but they don't have it segmented into profit, tax, owner's pay. So again, there's just this lack of clarity and fear and overwhelm, and I'm just no good at this, which actually isn't true. They're actually great at it. They just haven't been given the evidence of what a good job they're already doing.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're way overspending because they're pursuing every shiny object. I just need to do this next training. I need to get this next certification. I have to hire this. I have to do that, which may be true, but is now the best way to do that, right? Are there any other, and again, what I love is it forces us to get creative. What are the other ways that I could pursue this goal that might cost me less? Am I freaking out because this, is a time offer and it's Black Friday or Cyber Monday, and, the price on this package is going up on, in the next 48 hours? That doesn't matter if that's not in line with what I have available and what my goals are. And so it helps minimize that emotional knee-jerk response and be able to say, yes, I see that I want that thing. Now let me gauge that against my goals so that I can chill a little and see if it's, maybe it will be more expensive later on, but maybe I'll be able to afford it more later on, or maybe I'll find some other solution in the meantime.
So there's something really important about the concept of profit first. And this is what I recall from the advisors that I worked with that were working a lot of times with individuals. They applied the same concepts, but to personal finance. And there were so many people that were working so hard that still felt broke because they didn't know where their money went. Right. And they're asking their financial advisor, hey, can we afford to do this? And the financial advisors, I don't know, this is the reason you use this system. And so even if in the beginning, your profit is 1% or $10 or whatever it is, there's something very psychological and uplifting about paying yourself first, being able to put a little something in the kitty for whatever it is you might aspirationally be reaching for. So even though, to Erin's point, you've got these operational expenses and logic for those of us that have less than a growth mindset around finances, or, I've got all these things, these obligations I need to pay for. Yes, that's there. This is really more of a mindset switch. It's why maybe in the beginning, what's going into that profit kitty is you got to pay yourself something, right? And that's why percentages work, because in the beginning, it's not going to be very much, but over time, you're going to see that grow. And when you realize that percentage is even at 1% is suddenly now a lot more, and you have more, now you've got all this operational expenses going in there and you don't need all that. Now you can update your percentages and you've got these new goals you're hitting. I mean, that's the way I sort of understood it to work, regardless of whether you're working from a personal perspective or a business perspective. So do you work with business owners on their financial stuff too, or is it just the kind of the business side? And
again, for most entrepreneurs, the business is personal and the personal is business. And so, yes, mindset absolutely comes up. And so for me, just to pull it back to my experience in my 20s, had I had this system, because that was the question. I know I'm supposed to pay myself first, But how do I do that when there's less than nothing left over?
Right.
And I didn't have anyone to have that conversation with. So no one was able to say to me, you are super underpaid, and no one is going to advocate for you but you.
Yeah.
So if you're only asking for a little tiny raise, you are the problem. Like, you have to be standing up for yourself for your own living wage. And again, I think that's why so many of us go into business, right? Is so that we can say, I need to have a life with my business, whether it's financial support or time or energy or any of those things. So it's about revealing the conversations that need to be had, because if, and I think this is super true for female entrepreneurs, especially in service-based industries like health and wellness, right? We are here because we believe so strongly in what we do. We've seen the impact it can have on people's lives, and we just want to make sure that the most people have access to this.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure that as we share our knowledge and wealth, that we are sharing food from our plate, not out of our mouths. And that's what happens is, oh, I won't eat this, I'll feed it to you, rather than I've got so much in front of me, of course, help yourself. Right. So we have to be charging what we're worth. And so if you're saying, I don't know how to pay myself a living wage, mindset, pricing, marketing, those are all the things that we need to look at. So it's a beautiful blending of theory and practice, conversation and action. You can't have one without the other. And it just illuminates so clearly, like, what do we need to be looking at now? Where is the sticking point? Why do you think you can't raise your prices?
Right.
Of course you can, right? I love this example. There is a pen that sells for $1 million. It's a pen. It's not even an underwater pen or a right upside down pen. It's just a pen. Someone out there buys it. That's why it exists. They might only sell one a year. They really probably don't need to sell more than one a year if it's $1 million. That doesn't mean that that's what you have to do. You should never falsely inflate your prices. But if you know that you are having some agita around raising your prices, what a beautiful opportunity to look at that and say, why am I challenging myself on this? Is it that I'm correctly responding to data and saying, I don't yet have enough social proof to be able to convince people to pay me this amount of money? Great. Now we know what to do next. Or is it I feel bad charging so much?
Yeah.
Girl, why? Or boy, why? Or human, why? Right? It's not just a female entrepreneur issue, but it's, but again, it's super common, super common.
It is. I am always struck when we speak to money folks about just how directly parallel, abundance mindset is abundance mindset. Whether that's abundance of money or health, or not even abundance, but just getting what you deserve, and what sort of grown-ass adult things you're going to have to do to get what you deserve. I mean, like, I talk about this with my coaching clients all the time. Like, no one's coming to make breakfast for you. You're going to have to do it.
My husband
and if you
made me
don't,
breakfast this morning.
I know, but if you don't, you're going to stay exactly in the same place that you are now. So,
right.
In a more loving tone, of course. But I'm just always struck by how similar these things are, which is funny because I have such an aversion. I feel very, very disempowered about money, but so empowered about many other things. And it's sort of like, well, my empowerment faucet is just not diverting to the money side for some reason, but it easily could. These are learnable skills. So I always
easily
feel very,
could.
Yeah.
I would posit you already have the skill that you need, because the skill that you need is to allow your mindset to flow over into that other corner. You don't even have to do anything different. You don't even actually have to learn any of the money stuff or begin to develop that skill. If what you're saying is I feel disempowered around this, and so I think that there are generally two ways of approaching a feeling of disempowerment. One is from a mindset point of view, from a let's talk it through, let's think it through, let's have these conversations. Some people do really well in that area. That's not how my brain works. I'm a show me the evidence. I am never going to trust you until you show me the evidence. And so I have to have the system in order to bring my mindset along.
Mhm.
It's the same result. And so the question that I would ask you is it really a mindset issue? Because maybe it is. Or is it a lack of evidence issue? In which case that would be, you need to take action over there. Some people need mindset before action. Some people need action before mindset.
Interesting.
So we've got a lot of people that have been out there practicing for a while, and perhaps they're still in the side hustle stage, but they're making money.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, I think I'm ready. But what they lack is the confidence of it. Like, so let's transition from somebody just starting out to now I've got something viable. How do I set myself up financially with this system to make that move to full time?
Yep.
How would you work with that client?
I would work with that client by saying, start the system now, put those into place, do the same thing as if you are a pre-revenue business, right? Unless you have significant business obligations already where we need to take a look at how much are you committed to spending. And then you can say from there, the question is, first of all, how much do you want to be able to take home? What income are we trying to replace here? Whatever the number is, it doesn't matter. 40,000, 80,000, 250,000, don't care. That becomes the dollar amount that we say, okay, so that's the owner's pay. We need to be able to be putting in 1/12 of that if we're doing it monthly, or 1/52 of it if we're doing it weekly, whatever it is, into your owner's pay account to know that we're going to be able to sustainably pay you that. So now that we're working with percentages, we can go, okay, so if we're saying that our owner's pay at our level should be 50% of our income, then if I want to take home X dollars, I just double that. Now I know what my top line revenue should be. Now I have a sales goal. That was easy.
Yeah. Fantastic. We talk a lot
That's
about
math you can do on your phone.
Yeah, but we talk a lot about, and we just need to pound this home in the course, Erin, because Erin and I work for a school. But you got to know your number. And so many people have no idea. All they really know is like their income. I need to make this. But that's not really your number. That's not your revenue.
Right.
Hello. Right. So what an easy back of the napkin, like little exercise you can go through. And then if that number is, well, holy shit, how am I going to get there? This is where I don't know about you, but I just started backfilling that. Okay, well, this is my number.
Yeah.
Now I know what it is. How am I going to get there?
Right.
What does that then look like from client to client? This goes into the whole pricing conversation. Because if in order for me to viably do this business and be able to help anybody, I need to be able to earn this amount of income. So this is what my revenue needs to be. And so in order for my revenue to be here, and I only want to work X amount of hours a week, what do I, you back into this number. Now you've got a number that you've got to make per client, broadly speaking, or per unit of time, however you want to break that down. And don't apologize for it. This is what you need to be viable. How are you going to create that value? This goes into like the programming conversation that Erin loves so much. How are you going to build a program that's worth that you can deliver confidently and feel amazing about?
So yes. And two things about that. One is, it's not even, in my opinion, about not apologizing for it. It's realizing that if this is the number that I'm picking, this is the number that I'm saying will allow me to show up fully to serve you.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing that I think a lot of us don't acknowledge. If we are stressed about finances, like what a terrible impact on our health, but I can't come to you calmly and give you my full attention and really serve you and my family and my community and my world if I'm freaking out about how am I going to make my costs.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted to check in, Erin, because that piece of advice that was fabulous advice was very like, let's all just do some math together. And I'm just wondering, like, did you just sing a little song in your head for the last 30 seconds or was that tolerable for you?
No, that was great. That was good for me.
Okay.
I think that I feel like our audience always hears about how I'm such a dummy about money, But I was thinking about when you were sharing, there was a period in my time. Now, I didn't declare bankruptcy, but I came really close. I was at a stage when I was quite young. I had, same thing, a job that just was not paying enough for me to actually pay my living expenses. And I had to make the choice many months. Am I going to bounce my car payment or my rent check this month? Which one am I going to bounce? Oh, I bounced rent last month, so I'm going to have to bounce car this month. Like, that's how I was living life. And almost to the point where I was like, I'm pretty soon going to have to go live in that car. And what I did instead was I kept this very granular spreadsheet for somebody like me who's not, I am a word person. I'm a words person almost exclusively, not a numbers person. But I was like, okay, every week I like to go to this nice coffee shop and get that really nice chai tea. I'm going to put that down. That's $2.79. It takes this much gas to fill my car. I fill it up once every 9 days. Like I had data. I had financial, like I had it. This predates like, the QuickBooks app or anything. This is just what I knew that I spent every week. And I was like, if I can spend all this and based on my paycheck, I should have this little tiny chunk of money left over. I actually started doing this. I pulled myself out of debt it was something like 9 months. This insurmountable looming debt that was going to send me to living in my car. I pulled myself out of it in 9 months. I couldn't believe that I did it, but it was only because I was at rock bottom, desperate. And then I had to start learning the language of my numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So even a very illiterate person can see the value in that and do it also, which I think is it's good for me to remember that I did that once before.
Yeah.
I can certainly do it again.
Let's also remember there's a huge difference between being dumb and being illiterate.
Right.
Huge. There are some really smart people out there that are functionally illiterate.
Yeah. So I'm in a different stage now. I'm not mercifully almost living in my car, but now the pendulum has swung the other way. And I have a question. I have many income streams now. I have actually several. So like I'm cobbling together my income, doing 3 or 4 different things I love. So does every income stream need its own chunk of 5 or no? Oh, it's all
It's all income. As long as it's all under the same business heading, the same tax ID really is the distinguisher there. If it's all you and it's just your businesses, that's all just income.
Okay.
If it helps you to have different expense bank accounts for each of the different businesses to keep your eye on that, go for it. So there's a very funny saying that we talk about at Profit First, which is when in doubt, open an account. But it's true. I have my payroll in a separate account. I have my marketing in a separate account. Anything that I begin to feel like, I don't know if I have enough, right? I don't know. I don't like the stress. I don't want to have to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
That I'll open an account to be like, is my ad spend less than what or equal to what I'm putting into my marketing account each month? If not, then I need to readjust, because that one data point tells me I'm not getting enough of a return on my investment, or it would be naturally filling up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild.
So for someone like Erin, right? So let's say she's got this whole Profit First thing divvied up, and now she's in a position where perhaps she's looking to hire somebody or what have you. So we've got all these buckets. So now are we just changing percentages a little bit because maybe she wants to have to pay somebody else, or maybe she wants to start a more aggressive retirement plan? Like, is it a matter of just like as your business grows more complicated, maybe you need more buckets or accounts, or are we just changing percentages on these things?
Yeah, the percentages definitely change, right? So the first kind of lump of Profit First is from $0 to $250,000 in what's called real revenue. And this is another distinction that's important that, again, is talked about much more in the book. Real revenue is not top line revenue. Real revenue is after you have paid out any direct cost obligations. So if you are a fitness instructor and you've got rent on a gym and you have other instructors teaching for you, because they are directly responsible for bringing in income, right? You are only paying them because there's income attached to it. You want to take that out before you do these allocations. That's something that Profit First calls materials and subcontractors. So the direct costs would be put aside first. And then what's left over is called your real revenue. So again, that just separates out so that you can see, what are my margins? Am I charging enough of a markup on these people so that I have enough left over to cover all of this other stuff? And the theory behind that is, if you're a $500,000 fitness studio, but $400,000 of that is going to paying teachers, you're really a $100,000 fitness studio,
Right.
managing $400,000 worth of subcontractors. So that's an important piece to notice. But then as again, and it's sort of a false divider at 200, it's not like everything changes. We don't go from blue to purple at $250,000. It's a gradation, it's a sunset, the light rises, but around that time, the percentages shift, from 250 to 500,000, the expenses go up, because that's usually the phase of business when you're saying, I can no longer do this all myself. I need to be able to hire other people. So the owner's pay percentage goes down, the operating expense percentage goes up, because we're saying we're delegating now, which is great. And we're supposed to. And it lets us see, is the income matching, so that even though my owner's pay percentage is smaller, the dollar amount is the same.
Yes. Cool.
Love it.
It's okay. I learned about profit first. I hired a business coach last year to help me grow my business. And in one of our sessions, she attempted to teach me this. And I was like, what? No, I'm here to talk about my business and how to grow it with you. But it stuck with me. And you've got my wheels turning a bit more too. I just might open that book.
Here's what I'll add.
Yes.
To me, saying maybe I'll open that book is a little bit like saying, maybe I'll try running after all.
Mm-hmm.
If running isn't your thing, don't punish yourself. If reading a business book isn't your thing, don't set that as your goal, right? If you have people around you who are willing to take you through the process,
Good point.
that's better than reading the book.
Right.
And that's what you do. You
And
do that, don't you? Yeah.
And
Wait.
so the thing that I think makes me different, I mean, whatever, most business coaches, whether they acknowledge it or not, have an area of specialty.
Sure.
Right? Most of them really help. Most of the business coaches that I know are excellent at clarifying vision, right? What are your goals? How are we going to get there? A lot more around feeling, mindset, and usually then marketing, the sort of people-y oriented stuff. I'm not a people person. I love people, but I'm definitely a data girl, right? And so what I think what I bring to the table that a lot of other people don't is I'm soaked in this system, right? I have been in it with hundreds of businesses for multiple years. And I have a call with Mike Michalowicz once a month. So if I have a question, I have a huge network of people, including Mike himself, that I can take the questions to. I've been through an intense certification process. So the questions that come up that someone else might be like, I'm not really sure, or well, let's go back to the book. Yeah. I actually know the subtleties and the like, well, for you, that's not important. Same as fitness, right? We all know what the plan is, but it has to be customized for you. Doesn't mean that I'm the only person that can do this, but I think working with someone who is certified really does get you something a little bit extra if you're at the level of extra. But again, as we go back to what we started with, which is knowledge on its own isn't power. It's implemented knowledge that's powerful. So anytime you're given information, anytime I'm given information, I'm always seeking who is the right guide to make sure that that my form is correct, that my consistency is good, who's there to really be there being like, no, you're doing a great job, or that's actually fine. It's actually fine that you missed a couple of days. Let's just get back on it, and can really give the support that a true coach in the physical sense of what a coach does, not in the business sense, can really be there to support you. So I release you from ever having to read that book if you don't want to, just so you know.
Oh, good. I just might mash your book a call button. Although I am in Canada.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Because that was going to be my question too. So, because the profit first system is available in the book, but as always, there's lots of kind of diet and health and wellness books out there, yet people are still serially unsuccessful. So you've got maybe 20% of the population, and I'm being generous, that can take what they read in a book and apply it successfully for the long term. And then you've got the other 80% that need help. And so that, I guess that was my question. So you're working with people to help implement the system. I would imagine early on in your relationship, you're probably spending quite a bit of time with people as they get going. And then eventually they've got the system figured out and now they're tapping into you to check in. So can you tell me a little bit about kind of what that process is like as far as working with you?
Yeah. So the way that I specifically work, the most common the way that I work is learn it, build it, use it, right? So we are going to spend about 3 months of kind of intense work together to make sure that you understand the system, that we have you set up for success, and that you have some accountability to get things done, right? Oh, I didn't open up the banks last week. That's fine. We'll do it this week. No big deal. So the process that I go through is, let's figure out where you are right now. Let's make, let's compare that to what the recommended targets are. And then let's make some good decisions about, should those targets be your targets? And how do we get from where you are to where you want to be? That's the intensive portion. And for a while, that was all I taught, was this like 3-month intensive. You now know everything you need to know. Go forth, be successful. And of course, right, I probably could have closed my eyes and figured out what was going to happen, which is people fall off the track. So now the next step up from that is, let's check in quarterly. And then we can do a review of the last 3 months, right? So that's sort of the minimum, what I think is 1 year, 3 months intensive, and then quarterly check-ins to be like, what are you going to use your profit distribution for? And we actually have a free profit party, which is just a Zoom call around the end of the quarter I just want people to show up and like take a moment to celebrate, right? Because again, this is one of those things that I feel like it's lost both in health and wellness and in business, which is, but what are we doing this for? Right? Mm-hmm. We're not just doing this to look incredible. We're doing this because we want to be able to have someone say, hey, you want to go rock climbing this week? And be like, sure. That sounds fun. I've never done that before. And have a body that's willing to do that with us, right? That's the goal. The goal is to be able to be enthusiastic about whatever comes our way, rather than, oh, my back's acting, my knee, I don't feel good this week. I'm going to let fun things go by. Boo. No, let's go have fun.
Love it.
And business should support you in that, right? So this profit party is to say, like, what is the personal thing that your business is going to support you with this quarter? Mm-hmm. Is it funding your retirement? Is it investing in stocks? Is it, going to Disneyland with your family? I don't care what it is. So one of our clients bought an electric bike. I was like, awesome. That's great.
Man, and just think about how many people, and this was me, where I really, I look back at my past career where I honestly just felt like I was working to pay bills, And there are so many people that are stuck in that paradigm because they're not letting their money work for them. They're working for the money rather than letting that money work properly for them. So I'm just a huge advocate of literacy and education, and obviously coaching always. So, gosh, you've just given us so many phenomenal nuggets here, and really just things to think about and chew on. And the other thing I noticed about our conversation is just how much fun you seem to be having talking about this shit.
I totally do.
Yeah. And look, if it's not your wheelhouse, like Erin, and even, I kind of came from that space, so I was kind of burnt out on finance for a while, like I said, I was never really a numbers girl. So if finance isn't your wheelhouse, money's not your wheelhouse, and you're thinking through, as I grow my business, where should my first investment be? Perhaps it's hiring you or somebody like you to get on the right track. Makes total sense to me.
Yeah. And so, Erin, I believe I made this offer over email, but again, I think your podcast is awesome. I, of course, loving working with people in your space. So I would be so happy to offer you a couple of, not just the usual, like, let's talk for 30 minutes and let me show you how cool this could be for you. But I would love, because you are my ideal client, right? You understand the value of coaching, but you self-identify as someone who just doesn't really love this stuff. And I truly believe there can be such a huge transformation in the, not just the result, but in some ways what's more important to me, which is that internal feeling of, no, I actually totally got this and I'm great at it. I still hate it, but I'm great at it.
Cool.
So let's do that.
Let's do that.
Yay.
All right. So where can people find you and take you up on one of those?
The easiest place is just to go to our website, www.moxiebookkeeping.com. There's all the info there about working with us. And we even have some of our pricing up, and should have all of it up soon. As well as our sort of freebie of the 5 money myths that are, sabotaging your business and what to do about that. Because I think, again, that mindset is really crucial.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and your knowledge and your enthusiasm. Totally painless conversation. And I would go as far as to say a pretty thought-provoking and fun conversation, even around a topic that traditionally isn't for many people. I've learned a lot. And it's just a lot less scary. So thank you.
Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by Primal Health Coach Institute. To learn more about how to become a successful health coach, get in touch with us by visiting primalhealthcoach.com/call. Or if you're already a successful health coach, practitioner, influencer, or thought leader with a thriving business and an interesting story, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us at hello@primalhealthcoach.com and let us know why we need to interview you for Health Coach Radio. Thanks for listening.